What's up, WordPress Warriors? It's Patrick Gallagher, CEO and co-founder of GridPane. Today is Tuesday, April 7th, and this is probably the first of two videos for today. We had an issue with a customer where they had a bunch of outages, and we misdiagnosed the issue in the beginning, and ultimately I dug in because I've been helping out in support recently, and uncovered that we had no errors in the error logs for Nginx. And so it didn't quite make sense on our end as to why they would be experiencing downtime. And ultimately I dug into it and figured out what it was, and I figured that this would be useful for a whole bunch of you, especially if you're hosted with Vultr. So the issue was the client had a website which they used as a back-end service for a bunch of their customers, and it had gone down multiple times, seemingly almost every single day for 20 seconds here, 30 seconds there, a minute, 10 minutes, just all kinds of outages. And they were getting very frustrated and understandably pissed with us because we couldn't seem to see why it was happening, and now we have better visibility on it, and we're teaching our internal team about what it is that I'm going to show you right now. And so here's the long story short. The TLDR is the status page for Vultr is an absolute joke. Okay, if you've never seen this before, you can see it's just a whole bunch of green check marks, and they only indicate that there's an issue if they've actually acknowledged that there is a live issue on their platform. And what's even worse than this is that we've had all kinds of issues in the past where there's been issues with Vultr for many hours. We've been able to verify it with our multiple accounts and then countless customer accounts as well. And then they end up saying, you know, they'll get to a resolution and then they'll go, okay, everything's great. And we'll go, yeah, but you didn't update the status page. And they go, well, it's working now, so that's why it says okay. Well, so looking at, in this particular case, it was their Frankfurt, Germany data center. We can see everything's okay and compute availability is high, and so everything must be great. And if that's true and my site's down, then it must be GridPane's fault. Okay, well, here's the reality. This again is a total joke. They might as well not even have this page, because again, they don't indicate when they actually have issues. They don't always indicate when they actually have issues, and there's no historical record of any issue before now. So you can never know what they did, what they've been fixing, where the issues were, and so you just see green check marks. Well, if you look at DigitalOcean as an alternative, you can see that they have everything logged. You can go back months and see the entire history of every single issue that they've had at every single data center. Okay, and so one of the reasons that I recommend DigitalOcean over Vultr is not because they're more reliable, but just because they're more transparent about what's happening within their operations. So if you have, say, a utterly worthless status page, or even you're with a provider that has no status page at all, one bit of recourse that might work for you is this service called Cloud Harmony. So you just go to cloudharmony.com and you go up to, you choose status, and you end up on this page. So this is every major infrastructure provider in the world, DigitalOcean, Google Compute Engine, AWS, they're all here, okay? And so a good rule of thumb, if you're hosting with a provider that's not on this list, you may want to consider getting a different provider, okay? We actually just had to officially update a knowledge base article about a provider which we will no longer support, which will likely never be on this list, and that's a story for another day. But all you have to do here is find your provider. They're all listed alphabetically, and we scroll down here and we check out Vultr, and we look at Frankfurt, and even though they've been up 99.472% of the time, and they've only had a total of 3.8 hours of downtime in the last 30 days, they've had a total of 60 outages, okay? And so this totally resonates with what that particular user was saying to us. Hey, my site keeps going down. It's down for a couple minutes, then it's back up, and it seems like it's happening every single day. On average, they've been averaging 2 outages every single day for the last 30 days, and they've had a total of 4 hours, nearly 4 hours of downtime. Now, a couple things. Number one, that means that they did not hit their SLA. And so if you're on Vultr in Frankfurt, you may want to reach out to your, you might want to submit a ticket and try and get, you know, a credit for like 25 cents or whatever they're going to give you. Um, Another thing here, I don't want this just to be a bitch fest about Vultr. If you look through the list, pretty much everybody hits their SLAs. You'll see almost always, you'll see 100%. Okay, but you will see these random, here's Linode, they've got random little outages here and there. But if you look at all these outages, a total of, they had outages in 4 different data centers, they still exceeded 99.99% uptime. Which means that they hit their SLA. So all of the providers that we recommend, DigitalOcean, Vultr, Linode, AWS, they all hit their SLAs very, very consistently. I check this thing probably 2 times a month just to get a sense of what's happening in the infrastructure as a service space, and it's almost always 100% or 4 nines or greater. So the providers that we recommend, we do recommend them because they are reliable. Unfortunately, the problem with Vultr is that if they are having issues, they're not transparent about it, and if they had issues before, you can't ever really find out about it. Okay, so I hope this helps. Again, the site is cloudharmony.com, and for the individual providers out there, usually it's status dot whatever their top level domain is. You can check their status pages. If they have a status page like Vultr, it's really a waste of time. If you're with a provider that has this kind of transparency, that's usually a good sign. Okay, and again, if you're using a provider that's not on this list, you may want to reconsider, because you can probably find someone on this list that will give you similar value for money, and better transparency, better reliability, and then sort of this independent third party monitoring via the Cloud Harmony service, I think is really useful. So hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, obviously you know where to find us. Cheers.